All right, this is our interviewee of the month, Stanislaus Podlenski. Is that name correct?
That is correct.
Where did you work, Stan?
I came to work in the lab, Hobart.
Hobart. What year?
1957, July 1st.
57 here in Concord, I believe.
No, I was in Cambridge.
Cambridge.
Right.
All right.
Then we moved to Concord.
Yeah, let's stop in Cambridge for a second.
Go ahead.
Who was the secretary?
Pat Dean.
Pat Dean was the lab secretary. Vera Peterson had left.
That's right.
George Peterson's daughter was the secretary to, who was the boss again?
Hobart.
Hobart.
Merrill Hobart.
Merrill C. Hobart.
Right.
And Pat Dean took her place in the lab.
Right.
What were you doing?
I worked with Charlie Huffman on microphones and sound level meters.
Oh, in the separate room there.
No, outside.
Was it outside?
Yeah.
Because I remember they had the room, but that was the trumpet player there in the room, the microwave stuff. He raised gladiolas. You know who I mean.
John Walden.
Yes, of course. All right, so you were there working with Houghton on microphones. Then what happened?
Then we moved to Concord. That was January 1958. I was still with him. Then Hobart put me on the voltage regulators, and then the infamous 16.
What did it do? Was it
trombone thing that Holchi?
Not Holchi, Soderman, you mean?
Did Soderman do it?
1607, you mean?
1607, that's the one. I did the first lot of those.
Because that was microwave stuff.
That was microwave stuff.
Yeah.
I did that in the air conditioned room.
Yeah.
With Ernie Saunders was in there. And,
yeah.
And the, who was it? Did the inductors. For years and years.
Henry Hall? I mean.
No.
So were you in Cambridge when they'd all look out the window at the glass factory across the street?
No, I didn't. I heard about it.
All right, so now we got you in Concord doing 1607s.
1607s. All of a sudden, Warren came in and said, "Hey, before it gets around, I want to take you up to see Howard Dawes."
Howard Dawes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I moved up to service, replaced Joe Belcher.
Joe went to California?
To California.
As sales manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then I took that job. Bobby Wilson was up there, Randy Alexander.
Reinstra?
No, Reinstra was down, yes, he was in exhibits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Bobby went to exhibits afterwards.
And Bob used to go down there with exhibits, and when Joe left, Bob took over exhibits.
Yeah.
With Reinstra.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you worked with Bobby in service.
I did.
And
he used to split his time. He'd be down there, and then he'd come back up and do some service engineering work.
Now, Belcher wound up and running exhibits when he came back.
That's right. He came back, and then Bob went to
sales. Yeah.
Right.
But let's talk about Podlenski. What did he do?
So then I was doing the service engineering work over there, supporting different systems, different instruments, and
well, then George Ross took over.
When George Ross came, we moved our office to the other building, the floor, up in the third floor.
Right over here.
Way over in front.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
who was with you then?
Who was with me?
Who was the secretary? They were a couple of them.
Oh yeah. Well, my secretary was Dee Armstrong, who married and became Dee Cronin, and she left. And then it had a big blonde girl from Carroll.
Don't remember her.
No, she was there for a short time.
Then there was the Italian girl, a pretty little Italian girl.
Gail?
Yeah, DeRosa or no, Gail.
Gail Lazaro, married Charlie Sawyer.
Sawyer, yeah. But then you kind of advanced in service. You became the worker. George was the boss, and you were the guy who did the work. as I recall.
This is right, yeah. Then George got moved out, and Dale Bartels took over.
Oh,
And I worked with
Bartel.
Dale.
Yeah,
And I worked with Dale till the day he left.
yeah.
And
He wound up with Rob Held there.
Rob Held.
Yeah.
And so I had John Cronin work for me. Dale made me a manager, and I had several service engineers under me. By that time, we moved down to the first floor.
Al Gay?
Al Gay worked for me. Pete Drovich,
Yeah,
John Cronin.
yeah. But I remember you coming out to California to help me out
You
there.
know what happened there? That was 1977 when they bought the Biomation tools.
Oh, yeah.
And they weren't making it. There was a guy named Boudreaux who was the sales
Yeah.
guy on it.
Who we had hired from Teradyne, I
I
think.
think so. And he
Yeah.
said, they're not making those instruments. Go out there and give them a hand, see what they're doing. So Bartel said, okay, you can do it. And I did. I went out there. And I lived
Roy Rondo,
Roy Rondo, right.
because we bought that line from Biomation, but they had bought it from another company
This is right. I can't remember.
where Roy Rondo had worked.
Yeah, right. I can't remember the name of Biomation. There was some other name on it.
Yeah,
But there was a linear IC tester and a digital tester, which we didn't have. We didn't have a digital tester.
that's right.
And I remember going out there. Bob, you were there. Bob Sitkovich was running the
Manufacturing.
operation, and I worked with some of his people. And we finally got the thing going. When we got the first lot, first one made, I came home.
Yeah.
But I lived in that infamous place called Mariani's.
Mariani's, I remember it well. Yeah, I lived there myself, boy.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a good crew we had out there. Dick Benson and
It was super. Dick Benson and Bob Sitkovich.
Savitkovich.
I
Yeah.
went somewhere with it. I worked with a guy named Grant Riddle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Grant Riddle, yeah. But you saved our bacon, Stan. I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing on that product. And Biomation didn't know that much about it
I don't
either.
think they had it that long.
No, they didn't. Howie Painter was the promoter of it, and he was right.
What
Because Howie wanted to get into that market with our own tester, the 1730.
Well, we had the 30 at the time, but we were developing the 31, which is going to be the
Oh,
linear.
the Linear. And Howie,
the digital one.
but Howie was smart. He said, "Let's get salesmen trained. We can get this product. We can test the market." And he was right, because then we developed our own, and they were real world beaters. They were great. So,
I think at the time we were neck and neck with their linear tester and our 1730.
well, it was. What was the other outfit here in Massachusetts that we were head to head with, and we whopped them? Analog Devices.
Oh yeah.
They had a tester, and we blew them out of the water. It was great. But you started the ball rolling there by teaching us how to make the damn things.
Yeah, I supported the 1730. That was a real fun instrument
Yeah,
to service, to work with.
yeah,
It was
yeah. Bill Cabley.
Collection,
Yeah,
maybe cable.
yeah.
No.
Well, Dan Abername. I mean, that whole gang there. Yeah. But what happened to Podlenski then afterwards?
After that, okay, then I'll go back to where we were. We were downstairs, building one, first floor front, when they needed STI.
Yeah,
And they needed somebody to go out there because they weren't doing much with service. So Bartels sent me out there, and
It was a disaster.
still worked with Bartels, and all the time I was there, I reported to Bartels,
Yeah.
which was a good thing because I would not want to report to any of those guys.
Exactly so. Exactly so. That was tough duty, boy. But you were the utility outfielder. You know, Dale could say, "All right, Stan, we need you in California."
This is true, and fortunately, my wife would let me go, and I did that, commuted there for a while, and then eventually I moved out there in 82, I think, 83. I was out there 5 years.
5 years, Stan. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know they lasted that long.
They did. They did.
Yeah.
It was a terrible time. I mean, the salesmen would sell things that the thing couldn't do.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
customers wouldn't sign off
Oh, boy.
on accepting it, so the warranty never started. So they ended up with a pretty much of a lifetime warranty on the darn thing. So
That's right. No, not good.
I never knew the number, but it certainly was high. And
Not good.
eventually, the thing was shut down, and we stayed out there another year to support
the
set up so we could support it for the
install
95
base.
years.
Yeah.
And
Then you came back.
then I came back, and
Working for who then?
Deep Lightfoot, believe it or not.
For God's sakes, I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
Deep was in charge of this, and I went over to the Coulter building. But that's when Bartels had his crew over there, and Tippett came back and wiped out the whole organization.
Yeah.
And I had worked with Deke out there. Deke was a good man.
Good man. Yeah.
I came back and worked with Deke and for Deke over at the Coulter building. We had the repair group, logistics and part sales, much of which I had done in California. Before I came back from California, Deke sent me down to Phoenix. He said, we're going to close out Phoenix. Go down there and see if you can set up support for that product. It's going back to Concord. And I did. I had somebody come out there and go through what they could do to support it. And they moved it up here. They brought some people up from Phoenix to get the thing started, much as I had done for you and with the biomation stuff. But it never took off up here.
No.
They never made it. I don't think they ever made it. I remember the government used to order parts. They couldn't get the parts for years and years. You know, it seemed like.
This was the PSP, the whatever we called it.
The digital test.
Portable service processor, yeah.
Marines bought in. Who was the computer company that had a whole bunch of them out there? I can't think of it now.
When'd you retire?
I retired April 18th, 1991.
1991, and now you're living a life of leisure.
For a long time. Yep.
All right, now to answer your friend's questions, jak tam wisi? Dobrze.
That means good.
That means good. Nice talking to you, Stan. Please wave goodbye to your friends.
See you.
Bye-bye.